Mother-Daughter-Duo-Podcast. Hello, this is another episode of the Mother-Daughter-Duo Podcast. Again, I'm Danielle, your host, Danielle Perkins, my mother,
Jean Perkins.
We are sponsored again by M5 Mommy Monday Morning Motivation Meetup. There is more information in the scroll text below. Be sure to contact us at 253-523-1227, the word meetup, and let us know that you would like to get more details. I want to start off with a mommy may I question, or mother may I, mommy may I.
Yes.
I realize that this year is so hard on teachers. I totally get it. I'm assuming that this was around 2020. They are already working so hard in this crazy format. They don't have the bandwidth to worry about kids that have already mastered the material. But my daughter is miserable. She has regular screaming tantrums about how much she hates school, and recently she's starting to scream about how much she hates her teacher too. I feel like I'm pulling out every trick in the book to keep her in front of the screen. So obviously, while school was out amidst COVID,
Danielle, you started out Mommy May I, but you didn't explain what Mommy May I is.
We've been doing it consecutively for...
But somebody might not know. So Mommy May I is someone asks a question on a
That's right. So Mother May I comes from questions on questions that are submitted to us. Also currently, because we have not put out any episodes, not many people do know about the podcast. So right now, taking questions from different Facebook groups and different community groups that I'm a part of. So right now, this comes from Baby Center. Thank you for keeping us afloat. So that was the question, obviously amidst COVID, when kids had to change the formatting from in-person school to online. What would you say to the fact that this young lady, the age is not disclosed, but when they're having temper tantrums and it's really hard to adjust as a single parent, how would you advise her?
Without knowing what the age is, it's kind of difficult because you don't know how to necessarily interact with the child. But I would just say you just have to be patient, trying to get some type of understanding or get the child to kind of understand. To be open and forthcoming about their feelings. I know a lot of times we just kind of don't necessarily, our mentality has been, you gonna do this and you just go and do whatever you do, and we don't necessarily give a lot of thought into how the child feels. But that's what it's been years prior. But I think we're coming into an age now we will have to take a child's emotions and their mental state into consideration. So you have to kind of really be patient and try to find out what is really going on with the child, kind of interact with the teacher to find out what's going on in the classroom so you can get better understanding. Yeah.
Did you give an advice?
Yeah, that was my advice. Be patient.
Oh.
And then try to interact with the teachers at the school to find out what's really going on and how you can. And then maybe the child needs some therapy. A child is never too old to get into some type of therapy. So
never too young, never too old.
Never too young to get in type of. I mean, we are in a progressive age now. This is 2022. There's never not a reason why you cannot find what you need to help your children.
Sure. So with that being said, I do want to talk more about single parents, their children, and education. And specifically coming from my point of view, I am at this point, totally against public education. But to give some more context, I think you started to recognize some changes in my behavior, maybe starting at grade middle school, or it could be prior to that.
Oh, it might have been Gray, middle school.
I feel like it would have been Gray because prior to that, it was Manitou Elementary. I don't think that things were that wild, and I wasn't that obnoxious at that time. But at Gray, definitely coming into my own, and that school, very, very, very wild and rambunctious. So I think that's when it started. I can recall when I started to get more disciplinary actions against me, like ISS and Saturday school would happen at Gray. But obviously being around a lot of different kids your age, figuring things out, being in the middle of peer pressure, although I don't feel like I was peer pressured a lot, but my biggest thing was I was always the class clown. And you can speak more to like what was some of the feedback that you got during like parent teacher conferences.
Well, Danielle, that was a long time ago, so I cannot remember.
You always use that as you want.
Conversations about your participation. I never heard a teacher say anything about you being a class clown. I think one of their complaints were you were just disobedient, never wanting to follow the rules and talk back a lot. So I never heard class clown. That was never you.
Yeah, that was definitely me. I was always the center of attention in class.
So did you want to be the center of attention? And are you blaming on the school system?
No, I'm not even finished with my statement, but I'm just saying to let you know, and you are like, you and Bruce have that same type of charismatic, charisma is what I was going to say. You just draw people in through your humor, and that's exactly what was happening. I think Mrs. Na was my primary school teacher at that time, and you had to be called a few times. Like, you guys had developed a rapport so much, I feel like she was calling you quite frequently. You don't remember?
I don't remember her calling me quite frequently. I remember coming up to your school and going to some of your classes one time. And after I left, I wanted to go to the bar and get a couple of drinks because that was a lot.
Which part was a lot?
Being in the classrooms with all of your other classmates and their disrespect for teachers, and the teachers not able to handle the classroom. And I'm just knowing that if I was not there with you, you would probably be in one of those groups. I will remember your math class in particular, and the teacher, very smart, but he was not able to control his classroom. And I think he had resigned himself to the fact that I'm going to teach those that want to be taught. So there you had a group of people over there that were doing their own thing, about 3 or 4 of them. You had about 3 or 4 over in another group, other side of the classroom. You had about 4 that were sitting right there, 4 or 5, maybe 6, sitting right there in front of him. And they were engaged and trying to listen to him. But then you had all these other subgroups that were just basically doing their own thing. I wonder where all of those children are right now today. I wanted to take them all and choke them. And so I knew that if I wasn't there, you would have probably been in one of those groups, and you were just doing what you did on that day because I was with you.
That was at Gray Middle School?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like, that's when I can recall how early or when it started, because the environment that I was in. But from that observation, where you might see the kids acting wild and rambunctious, did you have, I'm sure you did, have some empathy towards the teacher?
A lot of empathy. Because I felt like, but again, I just went to the class with you that one day. I didn't even go, and you wanted me to stay there the remainder of the day. You didn't want me to go. You wanted me to stay.
Why do you think that was?
Oh, I don't know. But I was like, girl, my nerves. I can't do this because I be done wanting to choke one of these kids.
Maybe I wanted you to see what it was like in the school.
But you know what? Listen to me. And I'm going to say this. You're not going to agree, but I know that I raised you and your brother to be very respectful. Of course, you had your own individual identities, but I felt that you had enough in you where you knew how to conduct yourself when you went to class. So I feel like you did the things that you did in school because you chose to do it, not because you didn't know any better.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if there's a whole atmosphere, a whole environment that's doing the same thing and the teacher checked out, I think the problem is bigger than maybe the students. Maybe they're on both sides. It's just not running effectively.
You know, there was not a time that you came to me and said, Mom, take me out of this school because I don't think I'm learning. Maybe I would have visited that. Should I have done that and said, Danielle, I think I'm going to take you out of this school because I don't think you're learning.
But that's why I asked you, what kind of feedback did you get at the parent and teacher conferences?
You know, they never say anything bad about you, Danielle. People have always said that you were very smart and intelligent. They knew you were smart and intelligent. You just chose to
not apply myself.
Yeah. That was never nothing that they ever said that was horribly bad about you, except that you just were disobedient. And you know, and another, hard-headed, that's the word I used when I was growing up, and they used about me.
And nothing has changed.
Yeah, no, you have your very opinion. They have your own mind, and that didn't work for you back in school, but you didn't listen.
So what happened was basically I got passed over and over and over again, up until the point I got to Washington High School. Mind you, we are in Washington State, and Washington High School is based out of like the Parkland area. So Washington High School, and I think I flunked the 9th grade once, so I had to repeat the 9th grade. And then it got to a point where someone finally did bring it to your attention that I needed to be withdrawn because I just was not advancing.
Yes.
Academically.
Yes. Your counselors got in contact with me. We sat down and we talked, and the idea that they came up with that you could withdraw from Washington, go to an alternative school, get caught up with your credits, and then possibly get back enrolled in Washington so you could graduate on time with your class. And that sounded like that was very feasible. That was something you could do. I know that you were intelligent because you weren't doing what you needed to do in school.
Did I have any pushback, or did we have a conversation, or you kind of just were like, this is what's happening?
I don't remember if we had a conversation, but it wouldn't have done us any good to have a conversation because you were flunking out. So me sitting down having a conversation with you about what your options are.
It's not about my options. And I think the conversation about why.
Well, we were in the counselor's room, so you heard the same information I heard.
So it was just the teacher or the counselor that was making the decisions, and there was no talk that we had. Oh,
so are you implying that you wish we would have had a conversation?
I don't really recall what happened around it.
Yeah, we heard that you were in the classroom. You heard the same thing. You were in the office. You heard the same thing I heard. So at this point, I'm trying to make a decision that I felt that would be beneficial for you. To keep you on track and graduating. I'm glad we're having this conversation about education, because this is the time of year, June, I always get a little depressed. So yeah, and I'll tell you why as we move along. Go ahead.
And so what ended up happening was that I was pulled out and I went to alternative school, and obviously I still was not, I guess my mom still wasn't getting the cues, but I was pulled out of Gates Alternative School after a week.
Kicked out of Gates Alternative School.
Kicked out.
And you was there how long?
A week, I said.
Say it again.
1 week. Yes, but you still, it didn't dawn on you. Like,
what you mean dawn on me? That what was supposed to dawn on me? That you were misbehaving?
Yes.
And that I should have taken a look at that and see why you were misbehaving?
Investigate the reasons.
Why were you misbehaving?
You just pointed out the fact that...
Why were you misbehaving?
I'll tell you why I believe it happened in retrospect, because I took a degree and I got my master's in educational leadership. So what I was able to find out is there are a lot of things that go unchecked, not to put all of the onus on teachers, but if kids are not seeing themselves in the curriculum, if teachers are overwhelmed and checked out, at that time, I think I was going and seeing a counselor for anger management. We didn't really have a lot of conversations around it, but there could be the fact that I was not engaged in any other activities. It could be the fact that I was rebelling against authority figures because of the things that happened to me in the past. It could be that I just didn't have a good... I wouldn't say good foundation. Yes, I would say a good solid foundation at home. Just reasons why kids will act out. I feel like those are a part of it. And then if you're getting attention from everyone else at school because you don't really get it anywhere else, that could be a very strong reason why you like being the center of attention.
Yeah,
at my age,
we'll probably never agree on that. That's just
but it was because not just me.
In my thing, I felt like all you had to do was go to school, do your assignments. That's my mentality. Go to school, do your assignments, regardless of what's going on around you. Go to school, do your assignments. That's all you had to do. You didn't have to worry about
okay, Mom,
food.
How about this? Tell me your experience at college.
My experience at college?
Yeah, all you had to do was go to school and get a degree. But you didn't do that. You said,
but I can't blame the teachers. Those were choices that I made at 18 to have fun.
But even as an adult, when you knew better, you did not do better.
So now, are we talking about 20 years later when I decided to go to school, or 30 years later?
No, I'm saying college is adult age, about 18 and 19.
And as an adult, I chose to just party and have fun at college. As a decision I made. It wasn't because of
But I'm saying even as an adult, you did not get it right. So imagine as a child who's immersed in dysfunction.
So you're trying to say that we were a dysfunctional family? I'm
saying the school environment.
Yeah, then we're not going to agree on that. We're just saying.
So when I got my degree, and mind you, and this is not a complete shot at you, but I'm just saying, like, Bruce also, same thing.
Yeah, that's why I get depressed in June. That's why I get depressed in June, because neither one of you did well in school, and you had to get a GED, and so I feel
I got my high school diploma and GED, and two certificates in Job Corps.
And I'm glad that you did that, but I'm just saying, for me, every year I think about, I was never afforded the opportunity to go to your high school graduations. Neither one of you excelled high school graduations.
Yeah, at Job Corps.
That, to me, I'm just telling you my thoughts and my feelings.
And I'm just saying, you've actually been to 4 graduations.
I've been to all of your graduations from each one of your, how you excelled after you got out of school. But I'm just saying, for me, the regular route that some students take, they took the initiative to be present, to learn, to get their education, and to graduate. And that was just a avenue that you nor your brother took. And so every June, when I see all of these graduation pictures, I always remember that I didn't have that opportunity where you graduated from a regular school.
This is why, for single parents, you cannot just... This is my biggest issue. I do believe single parents rely on the public school system to just work. And there's little interaction, little involvement, little check-in. And I think that's what you did.
You could be right. I can say that I wasn't as present. I was as present as I
could be,
as much as I could be, because I was a single parent, because I was trying to work and take care of you and Brucey. And because maybe a little bit I was overwhelmed and checked out.
I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, you expect it to just kind of flow and function with little check-in. How are the principals? How are the teachers? What are they learning? What is being taught in the curriculum? What are the expectations? Why aren't they not meeting expectations? What kind of things are going into that? And my reason for bringing it up is because you have situations now like the mass shooting at, I want to pronounce it right, Uvalde, Texas, at Robb Elementary. And that's not the first of its kind. Obviously, we've been talking about mass shootings for so long. And even that, I feel I just don't see the public education school system working at all.
Oh, you have, now how does the shooting and
the correlation is just, there is no direct correlation. It's just that, and I was going to say that I just don't see the public education school system working at all for several reasons. From standardized testing to school to prison pipeline to diagnosing pretty much students of color disproportionately with things like ADHD, to kids not being able to identify themselves in the curriculum, to now you got in the year 2020 alone. Now they're, I think in Florida, they're talking about how you can't use certain terms in school. I think it's, you can't use gay in school. So that's, another caste system. You're marginalizing another group in schools. I don't hear from any parents when I have conversations with them anything positive. It's just something that you do. It's something that you take your kids to. The two positives is there's a social component, which in reality, your kids are not really socialized. They have about 30 minutes at recess time to be able to socialize. So I don't really see that as a very good argument. And then the other argument is really, I need the school system to kind of work because I have to go to work. I need the school system to do its job. It's very few parents that are saying, yeah, my kid loves school. It's not. Kids are, suicidal more than ever because of school and the bullying that happens at school. Kids are policed every day at school. Even more now, you have people that are actually considering and obliging the idea or entertaining the idea that teachers should be able to walk around with AKs at school to protect the students at the school. So there's more policing of students at school. I don't see the value in public education systems anymore. Now, private schools, that's a whole nother story, but charter schools, I think more people should consider homeschooling. But I realized when I wanted to go out, and at the time I didn't have a child, so it was hard for me to say, you should homeschool or take your kids out of school, you should homeschool. But I realized it is a privilege for people that homeschool. And when I try to immerse myself in the Facebook groups and tell people that this is something that you should do for your child, it was like dismissed right away because, again, I need this school system to work. I have an 8 to 5 that I have to, keep in order to maintain my household. And so, a lot of parents, single parents, just are not able to do that at this time. But the reason why I brought up the mass shooting is, like, even when your kids are, if nothing else, even when kids are victims at their own schools, if the bullying didn't help, if the bullying didn't trigger you enough, if the suicide rates didn't trigger you enough, if the standardized testing didn't trigger you enough, the mass shootings, I feel like that should be something where kids or parents start to really consider homeschooling their children. And it's not enough to say, I need to work and that's more important anymore. You have to do more intervention. And I just find it unfortunate that a lot of single parents do less intervention and they just expect the system to work for them, and it's very clear that it doesn't.
Okay, you made some valid points. You made some very, very valid points. I can't say that enough, but when a person is a single mom in particular, maybe a single father might think differently, but I think for a single mom, her mentality is she has to take care of her kids. And so and you're right, our mentality is when they're in school, I'm able to work and provide some type of income to take care of us. And then when they're home and, we're home together. And so I'm able to be present and be there. And sometimes that happens. And then I would say, if I can remember correctly, I wanted to make sure that I was home when you guys were home and I was out of the house when you guys were in the house. I tried to make it that way. However, at the same time, I think, when I'm home, I might be checked out. So I can say some single moms might just have been checked out. They've been dealing, because a single mom is a disciplinarian.
24/7.
She's the disciplinarian. She's the financer. Like, she's the income, the breadwinner, right? So she has to be that. She has to be the spiritual leader of her home if she, wants to bring her children up that way. She is, you name it, a single parent has to be that. But we're talking about single mothers at the moment. And so it is overwhelming, I think. And so you're right. I think the mindset is, I need you to be the school system to work so that I can work. So you're right. And I will concede to that. You're right. That's our mentality. We want to, and then in our mindset, we wanted the children to be like, okay, this is what I have to do. Just go to school. And I can take care of everything else if I just go to school. And so, yeah, I think you're kind of right.
I just want everyone to know that I do nowadays, there are alternative options. And I made it a point to start doing a lot more research. And I just encourage single parents to do a lot more research. And it doesn't have to be, there's co-ops. There are co-ops. And that means that community organizations where you can be more involved in your child's learning, and it doesn't have to be through the public education system. Some of them work for people, but I just think that some is not all, and that is a problem. It can't just be silos. It can't just be different independent schools. The whole school system should be able to work and function. Additionally, you cannot, at this time, COVID, if anything else, should have taught us that you can no longer just depend on government entities to work, organizations to work. We have to start taking some self-assessment of ourselves. And I think that COVID allowed a lot of people to do that and just be more proactive rather than just rely on things to function. I think it's getting to a point where people have to start scaling back and starting to do your own this is another topic for another day, but starting to do your own everything because and be your own, you are your best advocate. And so when it comes to like everything from gardening, teaching your children how to be self-disciplined, self-actualized, defending themselves, that could be hunting, teaching them self-defense. I'm just saying everything is going to have to come to a point where you start to do a lot more of that on your own without the help or the dependence of the system.
And I want to say, as citizens of these United States, we have more power than we are citizens of these United States, and we have more power than we actually utilize. And so going back to what you said about the governor, Ron DeSantis, and him now trying to put into law, you can't use the word gay. And it's not a law, but what he's doing is he will sue. He's suing organizations and trying to put things in place where the word gay can't be used. Listen, this is 2022, and I think we have put people in place that are making these decisions that are horrific when it comes to our country. And
we're going backwards.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you was talking about my conversation.
Oh, no, we're going.
But so if I could say anything before this closes, that we are in certain situations in our country because we have failed when it comes to electing certain officials in these offices that reflect who we are in these United States. We are different.
Checked out.
We are made up of different nationalities, different colors, different mindsets, and we need people in office that represent who we are. And we continue to sit back and let everybody else make decisions for us. That means vote for us when we should be voting ourselves and putting people in office that reflect these United States. And these United States means we are united, different colors, as I said, different nationalities and mindsets, and we can no longer let people that don't really represent us serve in office. I'm sorry, this gets me angry. So we need to do better. And we have more power than we really utilize and know. And so we got to get to that
We've
point.
gotten very, 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 very stagnant. Like I said, just relying on things to just work and function and operate. And you can, from the health system to the education system, you should know that you are your biggest advocate and you have to do more advocating for yourself and for your children. And to not leave it on a sour note, what is your mommy moment of the week?
Of the week? Well, my mommy moment is, let's go back. You did say Danielle did not graduate from a regular high school. At a point, I had to make a decision to send her away to Job Corps.
What does that have to do with your week?
And it doesn't have anything to do with my week. And I had to send her away to Job Corps. And from Job Corps, Danielle got she started on track. She graduated high school from Job Corps. They got her GED from Job Corps. Then went on to
my driver license and my certificate in accounting and my certificate in office assistant.
Yep.
So I
then
think
she
that
went to Clover Park.
Public education system is not the only way.
She got a degree from Clover Park. Then she went on to another school,
the very liberal one.
She went to Evergreen, but she got a degree there, and then she went on and got her master's. So I'm very proud of Danielle. My mommy moment for her is that she has had my very first grandson. And Danielle, I'm so proud of when he knows his numbers up to 30 and he's only 2. He knows his ABCs. He knows his days of the week because Danielle, she takes time and teach him. And then she also has found really substantial
or substantive.
I couldn't say it. That's why I said substantial. But say it again.
Yeah, substantial
videos on YouTube that help her teach my grandson, and so that's my mommy moment. Sitting home when I got off from work and sitting in the living room with him, and he's reciting his days of the weeks. He's counting up to 30. He's interacting with the YouTube videos that you play for him. So that's my mommy moment. So it lets me see where homeschooling can possibly work. Although I will want him in a public school, but now going back to the shootings, maybe not. But that's my mommy moment.
My mommy. This is like a tongue twister episode. My mommy moment of the week is simply I took the weekend to apply to a business grant that I'm really excited about, and I just think taking those small strides, as I've said before in previous episodes, to make all of this work is what I'm really excited and enthusiastic about. So that is another episode of the Mother-Daughter Duo podcast. Pregnancy brain, you guys. Peace out.
Peace. Mother-Daughter Duo Podcast.